Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Hello everybody. Welcome to Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, and we have a little hiccup because our co-host, the great Luis Mahano, got a flat tire today on the way home, so he's not here. So I'm going to go solo here, so good to see some people in the chat. So David and Scott are in there already saying good afternoon, good morning, and good night when Vil logs in. So you guys are going to have to keep me company here. Maybe Luis will make it back from the the tire repair, but maybe not. Oh, Andrew Davis is there too. Howdy, Andrew. So good to see you guys all in there doing so well. And we got lots of cool stuff to talk about today. I'm just going to try not to ramble on, because when I'm by myself, I seem to talk a lot more than maybe I should or could. But we'll keep you busy. So, oh, Charlie's here too. So cool. Good to see some people in the mix. So, for those who don't know, I'm Gavin Pickin, software developer for Ortus Solutions. And first of all, we want to just thank Ortus Solutions for making this podcast possible. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. And Ortus Solutions makes ColdBox, CommandBox, ForgeBox, TestBox, and a lot of other great boxes out there. And basically, a way that we'd like you guys to maybe say thanks back to Ortus for doing this is to like and subscribe to our videos on YouTube. You can also help us reach for the stars by running this CommandBox-GitHub package on ForgeBox. In any of your repos, if you run it, it will basically star all the repos that you're using inside your app. So that helps all the dependencies that you're running. If you guys listen to it on the podcast, which I met some people at CF Summit that do, so make sure you like and subscribe and leave us a review there as well. Obviously, we have CFCasts, which is our great video service. So if you want to, you can sign up for a free or a paid account there and get great content every week. And then Box Life Store, we have some great stuff there. So you guys can go and buy some swag and be as cool as the Ortus people are. And I think Brad's favorite, or Brad's shirt, Servers Up is probably one of the most popular ones I've seen, but it's a great one. And then we got some Ortus books, the 102 ColdBox HMVC Quick Tips and Tricks on Gumroad, and then we also have the modern CFML book, which we're doing some revamping on that right now. So good to see. We also want to thank our effervescent Patreon supporters this week. So without them, we wouldn't really be able to do this. It's really great to have you there, and it's great to see so many in the chat, and then meeting so many of you at CF Summit. So right now we have 43 Patreons providing 100% of the funding for the Modernize or Die podcast themselves. So they're fully funded, so Ortus can spend their money on other things. And then we're about 33% of the way to fully funding the ForgeBox.io setups, all the S3 connections, the bandwidth, and everything there, to making sure that Cold Fusion has the best CFML package management software for our apps. Okay, now we're done with that. Let's get into some news here. And so the first thing up, we have CF Summit. For those of you that are in the chat that made it, I think this is probably one of the best yet. Now, Charlie actually had his 10th CF Summit. He's spoken at 10 CF Summits in a row, all 10 of them. So Charlie, in the chat, let us know, what did you think? Is this one of the best ones or the best one? I think it was pretty high up there for myself, and I think Nolan said something similar in a blog post, which we'll cover soon. But for those of you that are watching, we'll actually pull up Nolan's blog post and a couple of tweets as well. But I'm waiting to see what Charlie has to say there. But so Nolan is always very detailed, so he ran a pretty good amount here. He said, honestly, I can't think of any reason that this conference wasn't a huge success for everyone involved. I saw no clunker sessions, no tech issues, overall very smoothly run event. And I think he said somewhere here it's one of the best that he's ever been to for CF Summit. So cool. Well, Luis might be able to jump in. He's just getting back. So just getting here. So Charlie, let's see. Charlie said, I think it was especially nice given the 2 years of virtual. really they seem to always be great in their own ways, but lame answer. No, Charlie, it's not. But I think you're right. Maybe that was part of it, is that we missed, having people there. We missed some of those other things. So, so Luis says he's got a birthday party as well as a flat tire, so it's pretty crazy at his house. So I'm just going to keep going solo. So, all good. So, again, we did have some tweets that went out about that, and we'll cover more of those later. But I wanted to show this one especially because it's from the Ortus team. We took some photos, and I thought it was pretty cool. So those watching can see this is me and Luis prepping madly. You can see my concentration face there at the Ortus booth trying to get ready for the podcast, which was pretty cool. We had a lot of fun with that one last week, so those who didn't catch it, go check that one out. It did cut off at 48 minutes though, because my laptop, it's basically it's on the way out. There's a battery issue, and so it died. But if you look here, you also see Luis with a couple of the sponsors. And then one of the sessions, that's me speaking. Yeek, that's kind of scary. But we had a pretty full room there talking about MVC. And then, Luis as well. So lots of cool photos there. It was really fun. I said we had a blast really at CF Summit this year. And maybe that was it. Is like we have missed people, and CF Summit, it's a little smaller this year, but it was still really good. Sometimes I think maybe it's a little bit too big, and so maybe that was part of it. But again, really liked it, and Luis even put on, he tweeted on the way home, he got stuck in the airport, as you do, traveling, and he says it's back from CF Summit. What a great conference after a 2-year hiatus. We got lots of feedback on our products, and just amazing to spend time with our amazing CFML community. We have lots to blog and talk about. So yeah, it was really cool, and it was good. Like I said, we got lots of people coming up and just, saying great things about what we're doing, and even people that weren't using our product. So, okay, well, another thing that happened at CF Summit is they had the certification. So, for those who didn't know, Adobe released this Adobe Certified Professional, and so they have a new one. It's the Adobe Certified Professional, Adobe called Fusion. And it's basically completely redone from the previous one, that's the CF Specialist. So I guess Mark Takata, Nolan, Dave Ferguson, and the engineering team, Alicia, Kishore, all spent a week together building this new course. And as Mark Takata said, it is hard. So he recommended it as a test of your skills, and he guaranteed everybody will learn something new. And so if you did sign up for that, you get 100 hours of videos to go through it. And you had the one-day lecture, which Brian Sappy led, and it was great to see like 60 people there. So due to some scheduling stuff, we actually postponed our training. So myself and Daniel Garcia got to do it, along with some other cool Patreons and some other cool Fusion devs. So I thought it was actually a pretty good day. Brian Sappy did really well leading the course. They had a bunch of examples that you walk through, and Brian did a great job to, cover as much of the information as possible in that one day, in addition to all the content you're supposed to look at beforehand, of course. But it was great because, Brian gave you some tips on what items are probably going to be on the test and which ones may not be. And then right before the test, we had some time, so he did, like we could go into more detail on a couple of sessions, or we could do like a pre-test practice quiz. And so we did that, and those really helped. So good news is I'm certified as well as being certifiable. So I'm certified now. Daniel Garcia passed as well, and there was quite a few other Patreons, and I'm not going to name names in case they don't want to say anything, but everyone that I talked to after the session, they all passed. So it was good news, but I will admit it was a little harder than what I heard the previous one was. So they did do the OO concepts. So, they talked about dependency injection, they talked about MVC, they talked about abstract classes and, static classes. So there's a lot more pretty cool stuff in there. And it was kind of nice because some of those things, I knew a little bit about, and I went a little deeper. And there was some so-called Fusion stuff that we've done. But, sometimes we were on Lucy, sometimes we're on Adobe CF, so it's nice to get a little bit more detail on a lot of that stuff. So it was fun. I did get to help some people too, so I got to go play Brad and go install Command Box for somebody and get it up and running and install Bullet Train. So, but that was fun. It was a lot of good content. It was great to talk to Brian and everything too. So it was a big success. So I think it's a good one. It is harder, but it's not impossible. There were some pretty good scores there. It requires an 80% grade to pass, but it's definitely doable. Open book, open internet, just don't talk to your neighbor. But just so you know, they do try to make it tricky. There's a few questions that they do try and catch you up. And to be honest, even with open book, open internet, I had to Google a lot of those Adobe ColdFusion settings that you just don't use. And some of them were really hard to find. So, but anyway, it was really fun, really good. I do recommend it. It's a great way to polish off your knowledge and to make sure you're not missing anything, and there's a lot of great content put online. And again, that's the first time I actually had a chance to meet with Brian in person and have a good conversation, so that was really cool. Anyway, so that's sort of my report on the Adobe certification. So Charlie says, is the cert open book? You can Google things, or you mean during the prep time? No, the test is open book, open internet the whole time. So yeah, you can do that. You're not supposed to be on chat and Slack and talking to people, but it's definitely open book, open cert. So you can look through your notes if you took notes, stuff like that. You can Google stuff. So people looking in CF docs, but they still try to trick you up. A lot of it's understanding, and one of those things with open book tests, if you remember from school, if they ever had an open book test, you were in trouble because they made them really hard. Just because it's open book doesn't mean you can get to everything. Although, if your Google knowledge is strong, you'll be all right. So, like I said, most people did pass. I heard of one person getting a 42 out of 62, which would have been a fail, but that was just a rumor from someone else. So, I don't know. Maybe Adobe will release some percentage grades on that. But the other thing was you didn't have to take the test that day. You could have prepared more, but it was good. So, I've been meaning to take the Adobe certification for a long time. I tried to take the 7, 8, and 9, and then finally when they got around to it, they didn't do it in 10 and 11, so it's been a while. But I'm certified, Daniel's certified, so that's kind of fun. I know that we actually have some Ortus certifications too. We don't do a lot of publishing on that, but now it's got us sort of thinking inspired about that, or doing some other certifications too, like some of the AWS ones, etc. We're actually thinking about starting a little study group for people wanting to take certifications together to sort of build community around that and help each other. So that might be something we can start as well. Okay, I already spent 15 minutes on the first item, so let's keep going here. Trying out GitHub Copilot. So I've heard that Carol Hamilton, or I guess she's got a new last name, she got married, Adam Cameron, they've all been using Copilot recently. And of course, for those who don't know, GitHub Copilot's a little AI tool that works in VS Code to help you it gives you code suggestions and actually can write out a lot of your code based on your comments. It's pretty interesting, and it's not very CF smart yet. And of course, Adam and Carol and Adam, they all write in JavaScript a lot. They write in ColdFusion, but they also write in other things like Kotlin, and so they're getting help for other ways. But I decided I would try it out in ColdFusion and VS Code. So far so good. As I mentioned, it's not that smart yet, but it's kind of cool because when you go to write out a test, because we should all be testing, if you put a nice comment in your describe and everything is very concrete per se, it actually gives us some pretty good tests. And sometimes the syntax is not quite right, but it gives you a really good sort of pseudocode for what you might want to test. And so far I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping if we get more people using it in ColdFusion, that we can get some better intelligence, and it's pretty neat. It's just some better suggestions than just the IntelliSense we normally get. Okay, Charlie had a comment. Wow, the Linux Foundation certs such as Kubernetes are like many open only to the extent you can look at certain specific resources, but not just any. So that's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just the software they have don't allow that. I mean, they could have been a little more over your shoulder protective in there, but they usually do it online. They're using a service called Kavon or Caveon, Caveon, and that's where we did the testing through. And to be honest, I kind of got a little scared because I went through the entire test and clicked submit, And at that point, it goes to another screen that says, "Are you ready to start?" And I'm like, "What just happened? I thought I lost all my answers." And apparently, when you do that, you have a little exit survey. So there's 3 more questions that ask you afterwards. And I was like, So I had to call Brian. I was like, "I just finished this and it says start again." But it was just the exit survey. So once I finished that, I got my grade. But yeah, it's one of those other things. I don't know if they normally have more moderation and they're just trying to get people to pass because it was CF Summit. They were lighter on it or not. I'm not sure exactly. I know that some, like Charlie's saying in this chat here, that some certs are, heavily moderated closely with cameras and everything else. That's the way it was for that test. So I guess if someone takes it remote, I know David Bellinger took it. I think you took the new one, right, David? Was it like proctored like that with cameras and everything? I know, like when you do the travel test for COVID, they have you have to move the webcam to follow your hands at all time. So it was moderated. So yeah, so maybe they just relaxed it a little bit, but it probably would have been, even if it shows empty disk. Interesting. Yeah, so for mine, really I didn't really look at too much. It was just a couple of the weird things, like there was an application CFC setting for including other files, and they give you, it's multiple choice, and they gave me 4, and like 2 of them were like obviously not it. And there's 2 of that made me think. So, but anyway, so maybe doing it in person at CF Summit next year might be the best way to get it if they relax the strings a little bit. Okay, so anyway, back to Copilot. If you guys are using it, let me know if you had any experience, and if not, try it out, you guys. There is a trial. Give it a whirl, and hopefully we can train it up to be a little more Cold Fusion smart. Hacktoberfest. So Hacktoberfest has started. If you guys haven't jumped in, go register. Anything you do in October, where you get it, basically pull requests are in. You can actually get some cool t-shirts or plant a tree in your name. And so if I share my local screen for those watching, you should see I have a couple already. Nope, I've got 1 waiting. So I've got 1 pull request waiting, and I got to get a couple more in. But so lots of options in there. You can go in and see what's in there. Oh, there's some that are non-participating. I got to go and make sure that they get flagged as Hacktoberfest. So I need to make sure that we get our repos updated. So go check out Hacktoberfest. It's really cool. Get people up and running. Pete Freitag has got cfdocs.org, and on there's actually a lot of issues that you can look at on the GitHub repo. So if I go local screen here, you see under issues, there's quite a lot. And so there's a bunch that are marked as Hacktoberfest. And so these are usually like, easy, good first issue. So these are a great way to get your free t-shirt. Get 4 pull requests in there. Go for it. So Hacktoberfest just started. We're, 10 days in, but we love Hacktoberfest. Again, if the modules or documentation on Ortus don't have the Hacktoberfest, ping us, we'll add it, and we'll get it going, because we definitely want to support Hacktoberfest and support you guys and help you get these cool shirts, because some of the best shirts I own are Hacktoberfest ones. They're top quality shirts. And again, if you want to be good and plant a tree instead, they'll plant a tree in the DigitalOcean forest for you. So, very cool. Okay, so new releases and updates. So, hot off the wire today, Charlie let me know. We have new 2021 and 2018 October security updates. So they're pleased to announce they have updates. So 21 update 5, 2018 update 15. Has fixed a few security and feature specific bugs along with other libraries. They've also included support for M1 Mac OS. So if you guys are running Mac OS and you want to run the newer versions, now you have M1 support. So very cool. More information is here, and they will be pushing out the Docker images soon. So go check those out there. And again, if you want more details, it's right there. And I will share the link in the show notes, because I was really bad about sharing links already so far. So let me just throw a couple in here in the chat real quick. Sorry, everybody. They get distracted when it's just one of me. If I can clone myself, we get so much more work done. Okay. So that is the Adobe updates. And then we also had a couple of releases as well. So we have CBElasticSearch version 2.3.3, and so that was released last week. So here's the link for that. And for this one here, basically it adds full capability for Elasticsearch version 8, as well as maintaining support for versions 6 and 7. So it's a great backwards compatible version. So check that out. And then we have Fusion Reactor 9.1.0, which is released. And so version 9 was released, I think, just a week or a week and a half ago, and they just released version 9.1.0. And in that includes 2 bug fixes, and it has 5 improvements. And then if you didn't see this a couple weeks back, Lucy announced the 5.3.10 release candidate. So it's mainly bug fixes. There's a couple of improvements relating to CFconfig JSON importing, and then they also been playing with some of those query listeners and mail listeners and all those different listener things. So they're experimental in this version. They'll be solid in Lucy 6. So if you want to check that out, you can do that. And remember, Java 17 is not supported, Java 19 is not supported, Java 11 is what's recommended. So just something to remember. Okay, so next up we have webinars, meetups, and workshops. So, as you guys listened last week, we announced that Ortus is stepping up their Friday game. So, Friday 11 a.m. Central, usually once a month we do a webinar. So our Ortus webinar is coming up soon, October 28th. And so because of CF Summit, we've got to confirm that everyone's schedule is still good for that. So we'll be announcing the actual topic very soon. So we'll be tweeting and blogging about that very soon this week. So the Ortus webinar, October 28th. So that's Friday, October 28th. Now, the next week, office hours are going to be held on November 4th. So the following Friday, we are now going to be running office hours for Ortus. So basically, basically every week there's going to be a different event. So we got the Ortus webinar on the 28th. The following week we have the Ortus Office Hours. So we're going to put up a form so you guys can ask questions in advance, so we can make sure we get the right person there to answer it, and we actually have an answer for you. So if you guys have questions that you'd want some of the Ortus team to help you answer, we're going to do that. So November 4th. The next week we're going to have on November 11th, we're going to have the first edition of the Ortus Book Club. So this is going to be Patreon only. We're starting as a Patreon only thing. So we're going to be doing a book club. So we're going to start with Robert Martin, or Uncle Bob's Clean Code book. So we're going to look at some of that. We're going to focus on a couple of different sections of it each week or each month, because we're doing it one session a month for the Clean Code book club. And so we'll just work our way through that. So if you guys are a patron and you'd like to join that, that'll be up November 11th. And then November 18th will be the webinar, because November we have Thanksgiving on the final week. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'll try and shut my notifications down there. Charlie, you're right. Let's see. Again, trying to get everything in. I've got that messed up today, so shouldn't hear any more of them. So yeah, so Ortus webinar for November is going to be the 18th instead of Thanksgiving week. So the 18th we'll have another webinar. So lots of webinars coming up, lots of cool new things. So we're trying out this stuff. So we've got the book club, and in December we'll have the Coding with the Kiwi come back as well. Yep, so cool. So basically every Friday, 11 a.m. Central, I want you to book it out, an hour and a half. We want to go in there and just block it in your calendar. We got webinars, live streams every week from Ortus. So we want to build up our community interaction, and that's how we want to do it. So hopefully you guys can join us in there. Now, last week, Charlie, well, actually it was the week before. We missed it last week because we got cut off before we got to all this stuff. The online Cold Fusion meetup using Adobe's CF setup tool, manage CF's admin settings from any version. So Charlie did that. It's his 299th episode. So Charlie, in the chat, have we got the 300th scheduled? I did look on the website before, but I didn't click to see upcoming. So maybe you can give us a little update here, and we'll we'll see, because I would like to see, when are you going to do your 300th episode? So looking here, is it scheduled? No, so not scheduled yet. So Charlie will have to let us know when he's got it here. Maybe he says he'll maybe do it next week. So the episode 300, it's a big deal. They've had tons and tons of content over many years, and Charlie's done a great job keeping it going. He didn't start the online CF meetup, but he's run it for 15 years or so, maybe more, because I think it started back in 2005. I know Charlie's got all the details, and you can find that on the site, but it's great. There's a lot of great content there, and we're hoping that a lot of the speakers from Adobe CF Summit will go and present on the online CF meetup, since we weren't able to record in Las Vegas due to some union rules. So we'll have to do that. So anyway, you can go check out that recording up on YouTube and check it up on meetup.com. Yep, and so Charlie confirmed, that's right, Stephen Arat started in 2005. He took it over in 2007. And yep, details at the site, coldfusionmeetup.com. So again, thanks Charlie for all you do there, and I'll try and get my session from CF Summit prepped, and we can try and schedule that. So I know we got a lot more other people to schedule too. There's been a lot of me lately, so let's spread it around a bit. Adobe workshops and webinars. We have a webinar coming up on November 23rd, Thanksgiving week. So building native mobile applications with Adobe ColdFusion and Monaco.io with Mark Takata. And this was an interesting one. I actually went and saw Mark's session on this, and I thought Monaco was something new. And then I looked it up, and I guess it's been around since like 2014 or 2015. And in Wikipedia, I haven't seen any links or references to like since 2015. So I don't know if there's like a revised version of it. I just couldn't find, but it's pretty interesting. So it looks like it's built on top of like the sort of the phone gap stuff with Cordova and everything. But so Mark's gonna be talking about that. Of course, I'm a little biased. I love Quasar. Quasar's the best for doing all of that stuff. So. Again, I might just be biased. So if you guys want to check out their next session, that's November 23rd. But December 22nd is a winter holiday special, a preview of ColdFusion 2023 with Mark Takata. And maybe they'll be dropping a few more bombs than they did at CF Summit, which we gave you a little taste of it last week. We'll talk about it a little bit more soon. So there's a full list up on all their webinars and workshops up on meetus.adobeevents.com/ColdFusion. Okay, CFCasts. So CFCasts has been a little quiet for a couple of weeks. I do apologize. With Into the Box, we're starting to record again now after this finished, but CF Summit came up quick and fast on us too, so we'll be releasing some new videos. But we did release all the videos from ITB for ITB ticket holders. If you are not an ITB ticket holder, but you are a CFCast subscriber, then you'll be able to see those in December. So we're going to be releasing them. We're going to do probably a 12 days of Christmas setup, so you guys can get all that content, and you can watch them through Christmas time and through that holiday if you guys get time off. So we will be getting them out to you soon, but we wanted to make sure we, gave that exclusivity for those people who, spent their hard-earned money to buy those tickets. But we do love all our CF subscribers. You guys, again, are helping to help fund that, and that's a great resource for the ColdFusion community. So thank you guys. And then we also released a couple more ForgeBox module of the week and VS Code hint tip and trick of the week videos there. But we do have more coming. So we are working on my boxifying a third-party library. Erica's working on a ColdBox Elixir series. Daniel Garcia is going to be working on a getting started with content box. And then, again, those ITB videos will be released in December for those who are not ITB ticket holders. So, we should be good there. So, okie dokie. Let's move on to conferences. So, last week, CF Summit, the CF Summit official. And again, I said, I think it was like the best one yet. I think I would have to do that. So, October 3rd and 4th. And then the certification on the 5th. It was a great event. They had a cool little party and everything else. It was their 10th one, so maybe that's why it just seems a little bitter. But again, highlights of the conference from me. It was good to see everyone back in person. It was great to see some of our Patreons, including a new Patreon who signed up right at the booth. So thanks, John Nassim. He got signed up by Daniel Garcia. He's a salesperson of the year. So that went really well. And then it was nice to meet some of our Twitter stalkers in person, like James Moberg. So I sat down, had a lunch with him, and we chatted a little bit at the parties and stuff. But it's great. James is a good guy. I love talking to him on Twitter and everything else. But it's really nice to meet in person. And I spent some time with Giancarlo Gomez, and I spent some time with David Levin, and of course Charlie. And there was just a lot of great people, and so that was really good. Now, the Ortus sessions, I think, went really well. And again, we're going to work on getting these to Charlie so we can put it up on the online CF Meetup. So Daniel Garcia rocked the big room right after the keynote the first day. It was really good. He got people pumped up. He's really a performer. It was really cool to see. And it was a really good session. So he did the API toolbox, essentially. And yeah, so basically it went really well. And we did joke last week that someone came up to him in the booth and said that he did a fantastic job and needs a raise. And Luis agreed to it on the podcast. My talk was on MVC, so I had a full room. Only a couple people used ColdBox, and the rest, might be using ColdBox soon. So that went off really well. I'm really happy with that. So it'd be great to share it with the online CF Meetup group. Brad did a talk on RabbitMQ, and he got some really good feedback too. So one of the feedback said that it was one of the clearest and most organized presentations they've seen in a long time. So Brad can talk, but I guess he can keep the slides simple and really effective too. And then Luis had another packed room, and he did his Alpine JS talk, which is the version I did. I did a version at ITB, which is based on his talk, and I got great feedback at ITB, and he got some really good feedback too. And I think Alpine JS is like going to be the future CF one because it's so simple to put in. Okay, I have a message from Charlie here. Actually, Mark announced on the CF portal yesterday that they will be asking all presenters to offer webinars they will run. Okay. Yeah, so basically, the CF portal, Daniel, that's coldfusion.adobe.com. There's a little portal website, got blog posts and everything else. Oh, and how did I miss that blog post, Charlie? Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put that on the list too. I thought I checked it, but I guess I didn't. Sometimes that site can be tricky for me to find stuff. So I do have the blog trotter set up so I can get my RSS feeds, but I guess I'm just too slow today. And a little sum up for Ortus booth at CF Summit. Lots of traffic, lots of old friends, lots of new contacts, lots of praise from everybody. It was great to get praise from everybody, whether it's they use our products or not. They still think we're doing great things for Cold Fusion and the community, and that was really cool to hear. So it's nice to get that feedback. Okay, here's some new stuff, you guys. So this week, right now, I actually missed a couple sessions because I've been doing the podcast, but ViteConf is here. So for those who don't know, Vite, or Vite as they say, ViteConf, they're making web development instant. So for some background, all the old tools like Webpack and everything, they're built with JavaScript, so JavaScript developers can help contribute to the engine. For a while, that's the way everything worked, and to be honest, that's a little slow. So ViteConf or Vite and ESBuild, a lot of those tools now have been actually built with other tools, other languages to get that instant speed, and so things like Vite are just blowing things away speed-wise compared to Webpack and everything else. And so they're on conference. So today and tomorrow you can register online for free, and they're live right now. You can go to the live stream after my podcast. But they got lots of content, and a lot of stuff is repeated too, so you can watch it later. So a lot of cool stuff here. And if you haven't seen anything about Vite, definitely recommend it. It's a really cool tool. It's changing the way things work, and we will be doing some updates pretty soon with sort of the Elixir-based world to offer those types of builds as well. It may be separate though, just because of the way basically the way Elixir works. It might be too different for this, so we are going to be offering it, but it might not be an Elixir, if that makes any sense. It might be its own thing. So that is free today and tomorrow. Now, another conference going on this week as well. So Microsoft Ignite. So again, I'll share my screen for those watching. So this is going to be the 12th through the 14th, 9 a.m. Pacific. You can watch it online for free if you register for an online ticket. If you want to go in person, if you're in the area in Seattle, it's about $1,900 for that. So if you want to go, but there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great speakers, and they're doing quite a lot of stuff with cloud. And so that's what I'm really interested in, Azure and other cloud-related items. They do have stuff from 365 and everything else. And they are doing some spotlights on other parts of the world. So the America Latina, the UK, Deutschland, France, and then I think they got Japan, and I don't read this very well, I'm sorry. But there's more information. So they actually have online versions of these with translations and other sessions. And so it looks like a pretty cool one. And it looks like a good session. You can check out the session right here. So 3 days of content, and again, that starts tomorrow. So tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Okay. So we also have something next week. Next week. Man, I thought conference season was just dying down. It's just getting started. So next week we have the AWSome Day Online Conference. It's a 3-hour 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific, or 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern, and that's on Thursday, October 20th. They're bringing the cloud down to earth. So it's a free, virtual 3-hour AWS cloud training event delivered by their skilled in-house instructors, and it's a crash course, but less crash, more course. Pretty cool catchline. So if you're not sure if you use AWS or not sure where to start, or if you've seen one of Brian Class's sessions, which are always amazing about AWS, and you want to get into it, it's a great starting point. So they walk through, the beginning, sort of security services and what AWS Compute is, and databases, and innovation, and closing remarks. So it's probably like a really great summary for getting started. And they're all level 100 classes, so very, very basic. Get in there, get familiar, and have an idea of what you can do going forward. So again, that there is the AWS online conference. And again, I haven't been posting my links. Apologies, everybody. But Microsoft Ignite link is coming, and then the ViteConf. But we got lots of cool stuff there. It's great to see some variety as well. And then Into the Box Latam, December 7th. They're working on the site. It should be released very soon. So if you're in the El Salvador region, we're going to be having Spanish and some English sessions, and possibly Portuguese. So we have a Portuguese member, and I actually met Patrick Leo at CF Summit. It was really cool to talk to him. He's really pumped about ColdBox and Cold Fusion, and so I believe he'll be speaking at Into the Box Latam as well. So we're expanding. So next year we have DevNexus 4th through the 6th. So if you guys are interested in DevNexus, it's a great Java conference and Java related conference. So Brad talks about RabbitMQ, and Luis talked about Alpine and everything. And October 9th, so the super early bird special just ended, so you could have saved 50% off. The call for speakers is open till the 15th, so check that one out. Into the Box 2023, drum roll please, we have dates. So May 17th, 18th, and 19th, 2022. So we'll be middle of May, back at the same venue, and we're excited. We're going to be doing the call for speakers starting November 1st. Our goal is to have workshops and sessions ready by the end of the year, so that way everybody knows and there's no excuses for budget and travel accommodations, so everybody can be there. It's going to be our 10th yet. We've already started planning all the cool things we're going to do, and you know me, I've got lots of ideas, and I've got 9 months to get them all figured out, so I'm working on it. Scott Steinbeck has some arcade buttons powered by Raspberry Pi that I'm going to use, because we're definitely going to have the box wars this time. So hold me to it. We're going to get it done. We're also talking about doing some fun stuff and making Happy Box be even happier. So instead of just meeting and talking and doing the meals, we're going to play the Box Wars family developer feud game. We're also going to look at doing like a hackathon with some prizes. So if you guys want to hack on some ForgeBox modules or something like that, we're going to be doing that. And obviously we'll be just hang out, play some games, maybe bring back sort of birds of a feather style from CF Objective, where you guys can bring some board games and play some board games and just hang out. But one of the ideas for one of the workshops was to mess around with some Raspberry Pi. So I was like, we should do like a little mini hackathon on some Raspberry Pis at HappyBox. So those, obviously a long day, people sometimes don't stick around, but if we have some cool things, maybe more people will want to hang out and do more stuff. So I think the developer feud box wars will be really cool. We can do that while people are eating and having a couple of drinks and everything else, and then maybe after that we can migrate into hackathon on Raspberry Pis, on ForgeBox modules, and just sort of hang out and make it more of a hangout instead of dinner and go. So let me know what you guys think about that. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think that's kind of fun. And remember, we are doing workshops, so we need some ideas for workshops. So let us know if you have any ideas on what you want us to see. The Vue.js one was voted by Twitter, and that one actually was the most successful as far as the attendees, and we got a lot of great feedback. So if there's other things you want to see, workshops you want to see it into the box, let us know. We're going to be reaching out to our mailing list and seeing. But I think having Brad bring his Pi hat back and let people do some command box on a Raspberry Pi, that'll be pretty cool. So I know that Brian Sappi at CF Summit talked about running all his training that he's doing for middle school kids and the teachers. They're running off Raspberry Pis. They're installing Adobe called Fusion 2021 on the Raspberry Pi. It's the development machine for these kids. They're taking them home, and using them at home. So there's a lot of things you can do on it. So maybe we could do something fun with that. So let's think of some ideas and let's play around a little bit. I actually want to build little Pi video game arcade machines. And I'm on a woodworking kick, so maybe I can build some cases to build some pretty cool Pi games. But it'd be cool if we could play the Snake game on there from Command Box too. Okay, CF Camp. Hopefully we'll hear some news about that being 2023. But that wraps up our conferences. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy your conferences. Let's move on to blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. So first up, we have one from James Moberg. We talked about the Safe Operation Navigator on Twitter, and we kind of got into some weird conversation where I was trying some edge case and Brad corrected me. But James threw this little item together here, so if you want to check it out, you can see this blog post. But safely fetching scoped variables while avoiding scope injection. So he's been sort of playing around with this. So it's kind of cool. Check this out again, and it started talking about struct key exists, and it's kind of weird because some of them will blow up, some of them won't with a safe navigation. And again, Brad said it's not the way it's supposed to be used. So, but that's a pretty cool little blog post. Nolan Irk, he had a recap. So if you want to check out Nolan's recap on CF Summit, he's got the full write-up here as well. And of course, Nolan being Nolan, he takes great notes, and so he actually has some more notes as well. So we'll be sharing the ones for Ray Camden's session, and his session was on mining electronic documents for fun and profit. And then we have a couple more we'll cover as we go down. So Ben Adele had a blog post too about converting a query to a human readable CSV and 2 phases. So I'm going to share my screen for those watching. This was kind of an interesting one because I guess it spurred from an older post where Adam Cameron found from back on like 2008. Basically, Ben was like, the code makes me cringe. It represents both style and mindset that feels archaic. So he's been working on modernizing that code. As he's rewriting it, he kept running into some hurdles. And so, basically he was looking at this, and he started thinking about the target audience. So once a human is your target audience, then user experience becomes a factor. So when you format your report data, it does matter. So you can't just dump data to the screen. You have to see how people are going to read it. So you might have to remove some noise, make it more human consumable. And so he talked about, how basically he generates customized two-dimensional array of data from all these different places, and then he'll generate the CSV from the intermediary array. And so, he does this two-step process to sort of compile things and then get it user-friendly. And so he has a CSV serializer, and he walks through sort of his process and his methodology for that. So again, I like not just the code Ben writes, but the way he breaks it down and thinks about it. It makes me, revisit some of the things I might do as well. So we did have a couple of tweets from Ortus. So I mentioned the one about CF Summit. So we got some photos in there. You can go like and retweet those. We also had the one from Luis we talked about earlier as well. And then we had one from Nolan, which I liked. And let me just share my screen, because those watching could see the photo. So here's the photo here, and the tweet says, "A few hundred attendees at the Cold Fusion Summit on Tuesday. Remind me how CF is dead." And so there's a pretty cool picture here. And then I took a picture and I shared it too. I said, yeah, good numbers for the closing raffle can be seen even in this picture. So even though it's the end of this conference, everyone's already leaving for flights and everything else, and they're just sticking around for a few prizes. It was kind of cool to see still that many people in the room. So that's a pretty big room. That's a decent number of people. So cool to see that there too. Okay. So we did have some slides that different people posted around. I'm not going to go into all of the different slides, but this is one from Brian, and I forget his last name. I apologize. I'd probably find it on the blog post itself. But if we pull that open, I'll share my screen again. His slides were below the surface, how web vulnerabilities hiding applications, and I love this. The iceberg thing, it's so perfect. So Brian Riley, sorry Brian, if you're listening. Yep. So when we look here, he's got some pretty cool slides. Interesting though, he basically had a blog post from earlier last year. So if I go back to I think April, so we looked at SSRF in Cold Fusion. And so he actually did a big study diving into every function in Cold Fusion, looking at all the different variables that expect a file that might accept a URL. And so a lot of people, obviously, if they're accepting a URL inside the URL scope or the form scope, you can sort of like make that be a sort of a cross-site setup. And so he went through all these different tags and functions, and these are the ones that could expect a file but could take a URL, and so these ones are possibly vulnerable. And so he asterisks all the ones that are Lucy only, so a lot of them are just Lucy and not Cold Fusion. But it obviously depends on how you're using the functions. They're perfectly safe if you're expecting a URL, if you clean them and you're not using a URL or a form scope or a CGI scope or cookie or something like that. So I thought this was a pretty cool blog post too, so I'm going to share that one as well. Okay, so let's move back into this. And I saw Scott had a little comment. We should play "Where's the Speakers" from the photos you took. Yeah, so there was a lot of speakers at the back of the room, I think, that Scott was talking about. So, but it was pretty cool to have them all there. Okay, Nolan also did a recap on Emma Fletcher's session. And so she's not a Cold Fusioner. She was actually the first time at the conference, but she talked about 7 mistakes developers make starting their first business and how to avoid them. And the takeaway from that really was that, yep, you make mistakes, you make lots of them. 7 mistakes that you usually make, but you'll probably make way more than that. But, just keep on plugging. And so it was a good session. I didn't get to attend that one, but I did talk to her and Nolan afterwards. That's where they found out that they both were from Sacramento. And I guess she does a lot of soldering stuff, and so she did a lot of stuff in the makerspace there. And Nolan actually had taken one of her trainings before on soldering, so small world, especially in Sacramento. But Nolan also did a recap on Goose, I always say his name right, Goose's session. modernizing through evolution, not revolution, and that sounded like a really good session. I wish I could have seen that one, but again, hopefully they'll do those presentations online soon and we can see them. But that's a little recap for you to get a taste of it. We did post a blog post on the Ortus site about Hacktoberfest. We talked about that a little bit, so I'll just share the link. And then we also talked about, actually we didn't talk about this one. This one I think needs some special attention. So this is another blog post by John Clausen. He released the CBElasticSearch blog, but he also runs something here which I think you guys might find interesting. So using command box Docker images to perform bytecode source conversions. Okay, so Charlie said use, I guess his name can be pronounced for us Yanks like Hoost. So it's the G is more of an H. So sorry, bad pronunciation. So back to this blog post. So you can use the command box Docker image to perform bytecode source conversions. And so sometimes code needs to be shipped in a compiled state. It might be for obfuscation or source protection. It might be because it runs faster. Without the CFML server needing to run compile templates at runtime, it can be crazy fast. So it's an excellent excuse for using the production Docker images and code deploy pipelines. And so this process walks about using the CFML compiler on ForgeBox and the comparison. But basically, he's gone through like compiling the files down and talks about that and how you can do it. And so if you guys are worried about speed and if you're worried about that, it's really pretty cool. So I know that some people want their code as lean as possible, as fast as possible. That first load can be really a big hit. So it should be pretty good. So check that one out. Highly recommend that. So I see a few misses here. Scott asked about the CF Meetup presentation. I'm not sure if they did, Scott, but like Charlie said, they're actually asking them to do them through Adobe, so that'll be good. But it looks like Charlie did share a meetup when Brian wrote their blog post, and so there's actually a session. So I'll have to put that in the show notes. Let me open that up myself. Oops, apparently that link didn't like me. Oh, it's probably because I've got a bad link. Yep, there we go. So I will throw that in there in my show notes as well. So that's pretty cool. Thanks again for sharing, Charlie. Okay, so last but not least, we have the CBElasticSearch session as well. And so if you guys are, like I said, interested in that, it's a pretty good piece there. No, I think I just killed my browser here. I'm sorry. Lost the chat. Let me pull that up again. Okay, and so the CBElasticSearch one, again, was a good session. Sorry, a good blog post talking about the differences and getting that latest version updated too. So I know there's a lot going on in there, so it's cool to have that blogged as well. Okay, so there's the blog post for conversion, and here's the CBElasticSearch one as well. Okay, so next up, CFML jobs. So we have 3 listed this week, or this week and a half, because again we got cut off last week, so we're kind of doing a double dose. So we have a Cold Fusion developer position in Alexandria, Virginia. We have a Cold Fusion position in Bengaluru, Karnataka, and then we have a senior Cold Fusion engineer in Austin, Texas. So getcfmljobs.com. Remember, you can post a job, no charge. It's completely free. So follow them on getcfmljobs.com to see them when they post. And we've got 138 positions posted. So lots of cool stuff there. And if you are looking for a job, Ortus Solutions is hiring. If you go to ortussolutions.com/about-us/careers, And if you go on the Slack channels, there's one on the Box Team Slack, there's one on the CFML Slack. So if you go check out those links, you can see other jobs that are posted around as well. Okay, so Charlie did mention we have a couple of blog posts up on the website for Adobe called Fusion. So before I forget, I'm going to jump in there real quick too. So they've got a couple items in here. If we go to the recent blogs, so I see the recap here. So this is the recap that Charlie was talking about, and then the updates that came out, and then there's also an event. So the Cold Fusion user group for Hawaii will be meeting. So let me look at this one real quick. And I think Mark Takata is going to be speaking at that one. I missed that one. I'll put that in the group. So October 28th, Mark Takata is going to be looking at the VS Code extension. So I will have to get that added to the show notes for everybody as well. So if you guys want to sign up for that one, you can do that through the CF Hawaii. Okay, so a couple good blogs in there. Let's get into our ForgeBox module of the week. And for this one, something I literally just posted, so it should be top of the list. So I'm going to share my screen for those watching. So if you go to forgebox.io, I don't know if you noticed, but if you scroll down, there's a couple items here. And so you can click most popular, most installs, newest, or updated. So if you click newest, you should see something called CF Interval. What's this, you might say? Well, it's a human-friendly helpers for working with intervals and time spans, and it's released by me, but I'm going to have a collaborator on here. Scott Steinbeck has been helping me. So basically what we did is we came in here and we have a Cold Fusion version of this library, the JavaScript timespan library, timespan.js, which was inspired by .NET system.timespan and system.datetime. And so basically it's a human-friendly version of intervals and timespans. Now, Cold Fusion has a timespan already, but that's basically where it's 1 or 0. Sorry, 1 is for 1 day, 0.5 is like 12 hours. There's different ways to do that, and so you can basically set it up to have a simple time span with the timespan function. Now that works okay, but there's a lot of cool stuff that I wanted to do, and so I found this library, and we're going to be merging it into Coda, so Coda will have better support for this too. But this timespan stuff is pretty neat. So you can create a new timespan using new timespan, or you can inject it using some of our injections. So if you inject timespan at CF interval, I kept it as timespan just so it would be consistent with the JavaScript. But Scott helped me do the conversion over to this here. We've got a few tests up and running, and it's put out there. But the cool thing is when you add a timespan, you can pass in milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours, or day. And then you can obviously pass ordered functions like JavaScript, or you can do name functions too. And they also have static constructors, which is the first time I've actually used static constructors. But you can say new time span like from seconds, or from minutes, or from hours, or from days. And so the goal is with this is that you can say, if you want to cache something for 30 days, you can basically say, new time span dot from days 30, and then you do dot to minutes, or total minutes, or something like that. You can do different things. So basically, me, when I'm looking at caching, sometimes it's cached in seconds, sometimes it's cached in minutes. I see all those things out there where it's like, 60 times 60 times 24.7 for 7 days, or you have a magic number in your code. Like, do you have 1460 or is it 86.4? All these magic numbers, and you don't know what they mean. You might know what they mean, and you might think you know what they mean, but they're just not very user-friendly. They're not very clean code. And so being able to have something like this where we can rock out, some user-friendly formats, that's pretty cool. Now, they do have adding and subtracting time as well, and you can actually do things where you interact with other time spans. But the short of it is, the total milliseconds, total seconds, total minutes, total hours, total days. I think I made a helper which is, in or 2 milliseconds or n milliseconds. or something, so that way you got a quick conversion so you can translate it. So and Scott's already updated the documentation on GitHub to show you how to correctly use the static methods in Cold Fusion, which was something I hadn't actually done, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, so you can break down, there's a lot of stuff in here, but again, we are adding some more human-friendly ones. And the cool thing is with Coda, Coda is internationalized. It was it's a cool little library. It's got, I think, German and English so far with Coda, but we'll be able to do like a new time span. You can say, 7 days, and so it'll take the 7 days instead of doing days equals 7. You can actually do some human readable stuff, and we're gonna try and improve that. Anyways, it's up on GitHub. Again, Scott and I are, just rolled it out this morning. And so if we come down to the static stuff, so this is how you use a time span by calling one of the static functions. So time span : from seconds, and that's how you can actually call it with static, which is interesting. Like I said, I didn't know you could do that. Well, I knew you could, I just didn't know the syntax, so that's pretty cool. So again, the from seconds, it just gives you a shortcut. Remember, JavaScript, they don't have named parameters, so they can't do it the cool way like we do. So we could do it very differently. So we'll be working with this here. So anyway, that is the ForgeBox module of the week, CF interval, and we'll be updating Coda real soon to have that included and make it even better and make it more user-friendly. And yeah, clean up our code wherever we go. So no more magic numbers. Magic numbers are bad. Okay, so that's our ForgeBox module of the week. And now our VS Code module of the week this week is something which we've talked about, I think, like 3 years ago. And I just used it like crazy yesterday, so I thought it's worth re-mentioning. So change case. It's by W. Mora. It's got 821,000 installs and growing. But basically, it gives you the option to quickly change the case from camel case, constant case, snake case, of the current selection or current word. And so I used this one yesterday when I had a bunch of URLs that I was making. I wanted to make some really user-friendly, SEO-friendly URLs that had all, everything was broken down. Using webhooks, it was like document dash changed. And so the dash is kind of nice, but if I wanted to change it for my function names, it was kind of a pain to have to retype them, but I could just basically pick them in here and then choose the type. And the cool thing is, if you select a word and then run the command, you'll actually see a preview of all those over here too. So you can see camel, constant, dot, etc. So it can convert from all these different formats back and forward. Just made it really easy to switch them. So again, it has multiple cursors, so you can do that too. It just doesn't give you the preview if you've got more than one selected. But it has options for camel, constant, dot, kebab, lower first, no, param, Pascal, path, sentence, snake, swap, title, upper, and upper first. So it's a pretty cool little extension. Again, highly recommend it, using it for switching from function names, which are, sort of camel case, back to URL formats, etc. So, okay. So that is our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. Last but not least, let's talk about our Patreon supporters. I have to update this picture. Sorry, everybody. But these individuals personally responsible or personally supporting us for our open source initiatives, and they help us provide more time and money for things like CommandBox, ForgeBox, ColdBox, ContentBox, TestBox, and all the other boxes that Ortus works on. And it also helps fund those cloud infrastructure that the community relies on for ForgeBox and our package management with CommandBox. So we do have some perks. So remember, we have annual memberships. If you pay for the year, you get 10% off. But bronze packages and up, now get that ForgeBox Pro and CFCast subscription as a perk. All Patreon supporters get that profile badge on the community website. All Patreon supporters have their own private forum on the community website. We also have a private Slack channel inside the Box Team Slack for the Patreons. And then you get access to live streams like Coding with the Kiwi and Friends and the Ortus Book Club. So the Ortus Book Club is the new one coming out. Coding with the Kiwi and Friends is going to be coming soon. So some of these streams are for Patreons only. So we get a nice, comfy little small group, and that way we say thank you to those who are supporting us. So definitely think it's worthwhile. And again, we had a new Patreon sign up on the spot at CF Summit, John Nessum, and it's great to have him list. So take a deep breath, and I'll thank all the Patreons myself. So thank you, John Wilson from Synaptrix, Jordan Clark, Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, Jonathan Perrett, Jeffrey McGee with Sunstar Media, Dean Maunder, Nolan Irk, Abdul Rahim, Vil De Bruin, Joseph Lamery, Don Bellamy, Jan Yannick, Laxmer Tirohadi, Brian Girondelli from Haggerty Motorsports, Calvin Stetton, Jeremy Adams, Tadia Lesnicki, Matthew Clemente, Daniel Garcia, Scott Steinbeck from AgriTracking Systems, Ben Nadal, Richard Herbert, Brett DeLine, Kai Koenig, Charlie Earhart, Jason Dager, Sean Oden, Matthew Darby, Ross Phillips, Edgardo Cabezas, Patrick Flynn, Stephanie Mungi, Kevin Wright, John Wish, Peter Mary, Kavan Venice, and John Nessum. So thank you everybody for being our Patreon supporters, and you guys can go and find out a little bit more about them on our website. It's been a great week coming back from CF Summit. Great time at both of our Cold Fusion conferences. But remember, there's still other conferences going on. So we've got ViteConf right now. We've got Microsoft Ignite. We've got the AWSome. So a lot of things coming up this month. You guys have a great one. Enjoy, and we'll see you next week. And hopefully we'll have two hosts again, because I don't like talking by myself. So thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. Really appreciate you. Thanks to all our Patreon supporters, and we'll see you all next week. And don't forget, we got all those Ortus cool webinars coming up very soon, so we'll be publishing that soon too. So have a good one, and see you next week. Bye. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.